Hi there, I'm Yolanda Rasco, and welcome to Griot Connects podcast. I'm here with Dr. Elizabeth Ford. We know her as Dr. Sandy Ford, and we're really fortunate to have Dr. Ford join us for this discussion. Her public health career spans over 20 years, and it extends to serving children with special health care needs to providing the White House and top White House officials. She's done great work, great work. We're so proud to have her. She holds degrees from Stanford and Howard Universities, go HU, and is a frequent media commentator on minority health and health inequities. And so also today, we're diving into a really crucial and a deeply personal conversation with Dr. Lulu. She is a board-certified pediatrician and a proud mother of a transgender daughter, right? Dr. Lulu, as she is affectionately known, is here to discuss her most recent book about your Black transgender child. It's a really vital guide for families who are navigating that really unique journey. She is drawing from not only her dual perspective. Dr. Lulu bridges the gap between clinical knowledge, her lived experience as a parent of a transgender daughter, and her work addresses this really unique cultural and societal challenge that's faced by Black transgender youth. She weaves it together with her medical insights, her mom advice, and great advocacy. So about your Black transgender child is really a call for community support. It's a celebration of identity, love, and acceptance. So join me in welcoming the author of About Your Black Transgender Child, Dr. Lulu. Welcome to Griot Connects.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. I cannot tell you, I was so happy when you said yes to be able to have this conversation. And Dr. Ford, you're going to bring so much great insight and great questions to the conversation. I love that both of you are clinicians professionally, but also that, you know, your life experiences, your lived experiences color this whole discussion. And so why don't we start, Dr. Lulu, with you? Just tell us how you got here. Give us the backstory. What is the why to this devotion? And let me say this to our listeners. This woman is completely 100% devoted to this discussion, not this discussion, but the topic. You're traveling the country all over, working with parents, working with organizations, and helping them to be able to garner support and to really understand the go forward when they have children, co-workers, students who are transgender or who are interested in this information. And so thank you, first of all, for the work that you're doing. But how in the world did you get here? Can you give us the backstory? Tell us something.
I guess I could ask you how much time you have, but let me begin by saying
right?
I'm here because Dr. Ford was actually my attending
at
Howard.
Yes,
we have to start
her,
with
so
that.
Yes,
wow.
At Howard,
yes,
medical
HU,
school,
yes. She was my attending, and that's actually how I'm here because she knows me, and then obviously she knows you, and so
right.
But I wanted to begin by kind of holding space for that. We went to Howard we didn't go together, but I was her resident when she was there attending.
Yep.
And let's
So
stick a pin in the fact that our HBCUs are producing people like this, right? Our HBCUs are vital, right, to not just our community, but to the world. How many doctors and specialists, certain, from every specialty, every area of medicine are produced out of Howard University. Thank you so much, HU. We give you your props.
Yes, indeed.
Especially now with all the erasure and cancellation of education, public education is under attack. Yes. So I'm definitely here to represent the real West Coast of Africa, first of all, because I was born, bred, buttered, and slightly burned in Nigeria, one of the most religious and most homophobic countries arguably in the world. And when I was 11 years old, I kind of noticed that I like girls, and then I told my aunt, I said, I think I like girls, and I think I also like boys. And she said, you're going to go to hell. And because that's all she knew. So I believed her because that's what we do at 11.
Did you cry? What was your
I just believed her.
emotional, how did you take that in?
Were you afraid?
I was 11. That's the thing that I don't remember, like,
How you even processed
yes,
it?
I was just like, oh, okay, if I don't want to go to hell, I'm Catholic. Hell is like real for us as Catholics.
Right.
I do identify as a runaway Catholic now, or a Catholic on the run. But because once you know better, you do better. But yeah, I was just like, I don't want to go to hell. So let's not talk about this anymore.
Gotcha.
And I pushed it all the way in. But when I was graduating from high school, my classmate thought it was funny to write in my yearbook that she knows that I'm a homosexual. She wrote that.
Whoa.
And so I was like, my dad is going to read my yearbook. I got to tell my dad before he reads it.
One of your classmates outed you
On paper.
in high school.
Yes.
Okay.
It was an
What was your
all-girls.
response to that?
It was an all-girls high school. So with the way we do the yearbooks, we just pass it around. Everybody signs.
Yeah,
So by the time it came back to me, I was like, how did she know? Because I'd never, except maybe I was a mirror. Maybe she,
Well, yeah, clearly there was
Yeah, right? Because I don't know how she knew. But anyway, the point is, it started like that. And so I decided to tell my dad at 16.
Okay.
And let me tell you, when you're telling your father, who is a Catholic Knight of Columbus, Red Cap Igbo chief,
Wow.
you're thinking you're going to be kicked out. But my dad said, Nne is a term of endearment for mother. Mm-hmm. So my dad said, Nne, I think it's a phase. Which was first a shock for me because I thought my dad was going to kick me out. Mm-hmm. But he said it's a phase. And then I said, maybe you're right. Maybe it's a phase. And I want to begin with that because a lot of children who are in the LGBT plus community have that response from their parents.
Okay.
It's a phase. It's something that people who are not members of the community think it is. So I want to hold space for my father who didn't know what he didn't know.
Yes.
And also for children who are faced with this kind of response from their parents. They truly, if you're not a member of the community, you don't know it's not a phase. Mm-hmm. And if you're a parent, you hope it's a phase.
They're hoping. They're just kind of hoping that it is.
Yeah, you're hoping it's a phase. And so I went from that to medical school. So I used to think I was a lesbian because that's all I knew. I went to an all-girls high school, and I only knew that I was also attracted to girls. And then when I got to medical school in Nigeria, I said I learned the word bisexual. I said, oh, wait, then I guess I'm bisexual because I like boys and I like girls. And believe it or not, it was only last year at the ripe young age of 55 that I realized I'm actually pansexual, which means I'm attracted to everyone regardless of their gender identity. And I found that out because I had a mad crush on this guy, and then I found out that he's trans. I'm like, wait, what?
So you know what? You bring up a great point, and it's not on this paper, but we got to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Because at the end of the day, what you said was, although you were experiencing your life as a pansexual, you didn't have the language for it.
I didn't have the language for bisexual even.
How important is
exactly.
that?
And this is so important because, thank you so much for bringing that point up, because a lot of children, okay, first of all, Dr. Sandy, you probably know this. And I'm not asking you, I'm not asking a question, I'm saying something and I want you to corroborate. At what age children become aware of their gender identity, any child at all, is 18 months to 2 years old. Cisgender children, transgender children, any child, but the child doesn't have verbiage until the age of 2 before they start saying, mommy, come, or see this. Like at 2 years old, you start putting 2 words together. So at that point, the child is able to speak.
Yes.
Now, they can't tell a story until the age of 4. Mm-hmm. And we know this from our basic developmental. Yeah. So if a child cannot tell a story till they are 4, your child is not going to tell you anything that makes sense until they are at least 4. And when a child tells you, Mom, I'm a girl at 4, what do you say to him?
If he looks like a boy.
Yeah, you're not a girl, which is what I did with my kid. I said, you're not a girl, you're a boy. And I kept saying that because the child was very effeminate, and I didn't like that.
Understood.
So I want to, again, I really want to paint a picture for people.
So let me go back to that age. Exactly.
Have a journey.
Because there is a time when, as you said, we are able to acknowledge our sexual orientation or our sexual identity. And at that time, children might expressively make comments about it. Now, and that's where your story actually begins. So that's where we're going to start with the child is saying, I see myself as this gender or this type of person. They don't have much language. And what age is that?
2 years of age, between two and three. Yeah, exactly. Between two and three is when kids.
At 3 years old, you say, "Are you a girl or a boy?" And they will tell you.
Yes, that's it. That's what I wanted to say. So it's not quite sexuality, which is different.
It's very different.
So sexuality is between 9 and 11.
Right. Now, what do you like? What are you?
Who do you like? Who are you attracted to? Is 9 and 11, which is why I said at 11 to my auntie, because that's when you start having those feelings. But that's different from gender identity, which is I'm a boy or I'm a girl, which is much, much, much younger.
Much younger. So that's gender identity. And then there's sexual identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sexual expression. And that's more like 9/11. And then you were 16 and you were far more confident, but you still didn't quite hit the nail on the head for all of what you were feeling, right? So what stage would you call that at 16?
Exploration, right? That's middle school. So you're still exploring. I mean, honestly, we're all always becoming.
But you were expressing. Other people saw you, and they saw you as, right? Because your girlfriend wrote in that book.
Yeah.
Yes, you were expressing something.
It was also an all-girls high school.
I went to all-girls high school.
So at all-girls high school, people are coming home with their boyfriends or talking about their boyfriends. I'm like, I kind of like Susie over there. Yeah. So she probably just put 2 and 2 together over time.
Just by observation.
Yeah, just by observing.
That is a great point.
So let's talk about the parent piece of this.
Yes.
And the parent and the pediatrician piece, because your pediatrician is your person as a mom for the first 18 years of your child's life. That's a very influential person, but not all docs are good docs. We know that. Not all docs are necessarily aware of gender affirming care, what that means. It depends on how they trained and where they trained, et cetera. So as a mom, what would you say, parents have their perceptions of what they want their children to be. So now you have this 3-year-old who is now saying, I'm a girl, but you're looking at a biological boy. So help me as a mom as I'm trying to navigate through this. What do you say to a parent? Because there's so many questions. Let's talk about the medical. How do you deal with the medical perspective? How do you deal with the psychological perspective, both the child's and yours? And then, listen, some of these things are not cheap. When you're like trying to go through this process, hormones, all of that kind of work. And so what would you tell a parent as they're trying to navigate through these steps, what to expect?
So I think in honor of my ADHD, I'm going to take one question at a time because I can't remember the
you gave a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So let's talk about what do you tell a parent who's trying to manage the medical system?
So I think the first question that I want to ask the parent is, what were your thoughts before your child ever said anything about the transgender community? If you're like me and all my thoughts were negative, when my child said that, I went all the way to no. And I want to kind of stress that we have to manage our thoughts. It's all mindset. So that aside, money doesn't even come up at all until your child, or unless your child truly wants to transition. If you ask 100 gender diverse people, because let's not forget that there are some non-binary people here. We haven't even talked about that.
Right.
So gender diversity spans two-spirit, non-binary, gender queer, gender fluid, transgender. There are many. It's a whole gamut. So it's not everybody that wants to necessarily transition. My own kid said to me, Mom, I actually like my body parts.
Okay.
She said, the only thing I want to do is some electropilation because she just to kind of halt the beard. The hair. Otherwise, she said, I like my body. And she went like this. And so you could tell that she's like, no, actually, I like my body parts. And there are people out there who like their body parts. So not everyone wants to transition. That said, if the child tells you at 5 years of age, transitioning, They don't know what transitioning is.
That's right.
What they know, though, is that their mama loves them, and their mama puts them to bed every night, and their mama cooks dinner for them. So what their mama says is so important to them. So not pushing the child all the way back in is critical. Leaning in and say, tell me what that means to you. Mom, I'm transgender. What does that mean? Let the child use their words, like we said, after 4 or 5. Let the child tell you, because it may just be, I just want to wear a tutu. It could be as simple as that, or I want to have a haircut. It could be as simple as that. Or it can be, I changed my name.
Yeah, and a kid, I mean, for someone even who is a medical doctor, right, and have personal experiences, you didn't really fully understand your own self. So I wouldn't even expect a kid to not just have the language, but to
They
be
just know
able
something's
to.
not right.
Yes, something is different. And that
Yes.
goes to the incongruence. And I want to talk about that. Incongruence in this book was an eye-opener for me. And let me tell you why. When I went to an all-girls high school, and I was a jock. All my girlfriends will tell you I played every sport there is. I was a tomboy from the time I was a toddler. I played with the boys. I fought the boys. I raced them on the bicycles. I could beat them. I could beat them in marbles. And I was a tomboy. So I did not see myself sexually at all. I saw myself, my physical body was useful for me to do what I needed to do. That was all, coming up, then through high school. When I got to college, I woke up one day, I was at FAMU. I woke up one day, I'll never forget, it's like, I see it in my head right now. When I woke up, I said to myself, I'm a woman. It was a literal awakening. I felt different. I saw myself differently. And all of that tomboyish thing, I was like, what do I do with all of this? I called my sister. She told me, she wired me $200, and she said, go to JCPenney and buy a dress and a pair of high heels. And I did. And I felt something different was about me. However, when I read this book, I said to myself, if in that moment when I felt that compulsion that I was a woman and I wanted to express it somehow, if I were in a different body than the body I have, gee willikers, the incongruence, really, my body aligned with who I saw myself to be.
Self-affirmation, yes.
And I was thrilled about that.
Yes.
However, if I would have been in a body that did not align with how I saw myself in that moment, because it was explosive, right? I can imagine nothing but anxiety, depression, sadness. I cannot fear. I cannot imagine what life would have been like. And so I understood after reading this book that transgender has nothing to do with changing body parts or who I select for my sexual experience. It has to do with how I see me.
If we could clone that mindset, we would have
I swear to
less
God.
violence, a lot less suicide, a lot less mental health issues, because that right there is the key.
That was it. That was a full circle move. For someone who is not a physician, who is not in quick,
I ain't
you
none of
just
that.
nailed it. You
I
literally.
could clone that and paste it somewhere.
I was just
It
going
would
to
be
say, as you were speaking, I was like, that's it. You got it.
That recognition that it isn't any of those things.
It isn't any of those
and it has
things.
nothing to do with anybody else.
Yes. No.
So there's that. Yes.
No. So with that said, one point that I really have to talk about is affirmation. For me, acceptance is something that I think everyone desires, to be affirmed in who we are. What are some of the practical and everyday behaviors that we as parents and family members and co-workers and so forth can adopt to really show genuine affirming validation to a person who is interested in transitioning or who is presenting as someone who is, moving in that direction, or someone who we meet who has transitioned. And for me, the one word that pops up is empathy, but I'm going to let you kind of
acceptance,
pick that up.
So I want to start by saying thank you for that question. So empathy plus acceptance equals compassion. Compassion is the word that I want us to practice. Compassion. So empathy means I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Compassion means I see you, I hear you, I feel you. How can I help? How can I help how can I support you? That's vulnerability on my part, saying I don't know enough.
Yes.
That's me empowering you to own yourself, because I know that you know yourself better. So how can I help? And to physicians that I coach, I say, don't meet your patients where they are. Meet your patients where they want you to meet them. And there's a difference. There's a slight difference. If I come to the clinic to see Dr. Sandy with my wife,
yes,
and I'm HIV positive, for example, and Dr. Sandy knows this is my wife, Dr. Sandy is not allowed to talk about my HIV because I don't want her to talk about it. That's what I mean by meet me where I want to be met. I may not want you to know yet. Does that make it?
Yes.
I may want, obviously she's my doctor. I want her to know. But Dr. Sandy, you're not allowed to talk about it.
Understood.
So she meets me where I want to. And because of body dysmorphia, gender dysphoria, we have to be okay. Like, can I examine you? Some of these people don't even want you to touch them because of the incongruence, like their body is like attacking them. You have to be it's trauma-informed care.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you want me to, okay, I'm going to examine you now. Would you like me to? No, not today. Okay.
Trauma-informed care.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Understanding all the history behind what someone has experienced. And that's why, and people, particularly with pediatricians, they just think that children have no body autonomy. And so they'll just start touching you.
Hugging.
I'm like, whoa here. You need to talk this child through, because we're also trying to teach children the difference between a good touch and a bad touch.
Yes.
And I just put my hands all over you without having any discussion.
Checking.
And so you need to narrate as you, okay, I'm going
to check you now. Yes.
And parents need to be the guardian.
Right.
Yes.
Right? At the gate, so to speak.
Gatekeepers. And there's a chapter about how to advocate for your child at your doctor's office. So you're right about saying that the parent is the key here. The parent is the most important and the most influential person in the child's life. So the parent is a driver until the child takes over driving. So the parents gatekeeping body parts, gatekeeping good touching and bad touching, gatekeeping language even. Like
I don't want to hug you.
Yeah, I don't want to hug you, and that's okay. And the child might call this chest, and you call it breast. Well, let's use chest because that's the language the child is using.
Understood.
And just things like that. If you're an OBGYN or an OB or a GYN, and you have a trans man who wants to have a baby, you have to ask the person, how do you want us to address you? They might not want to say to be called mom. They might not want to, because even though they are the birth parent, they might want birth parent and not mom. So asking them,
meet people where they
language,
are.
yes, and where they want you to. I think for me, where they are is, okay, you're the birth parent, your mom. No, where I want you to is, I'm the birth parent, period.
Let them guide you.
Or maybe I'm the dad. Some trans men want to, I'm the dad,
asking.
I'm just having the baby. So asking is so important. Asking is awareness, safety, and kindness. So knowing where you are, knowing what you don't know, creating a safe space so that the patient feels able to open up, and then being kind, saying to myself, this is a whole human being with a whole life who just happens to be trans.
And the parent is leading. Not
the child is actually leading.
The child
is leading. My third TED Talk talks about let the children lead parenting as students. In the doctor's office, the parent is the parent, but ultimately the parent is only sharing what the child chooses. And I'll say that because you can have a child who comes out to their mother and not their father. So you can't just say parent is leading. And it's almost always about safety. When the child doesn't want to tell their mother, you have to find out. I told my dad, I didn't tell my mom, because the relationship between me and my mother was not the same as the relationship between me and my father. And I picked the right parent. I'm glad I did, because my dad said, nay, it's a phase. Right. I don't know what my mom would have said.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I told my mom that I think my child is gay when the kid was about 18 months old. My mom said, and I quote, "Get the holy water, get the holy water. Don't ever say that about my grandchild again."
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about religion a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to say that for the last.
Yeah,
But let's pause here, ladies, because we've said so much. And I want to be able to kind of take it all in and do a quick recap as well.
Sure.
So let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back.
Bet you never read a book like this.
Welcome back. We are here with Dr. Sandy Ford. We also have Dr. Lulu. And man, is this discussion good. Because at the end of the day, we are discussing the book About Your Black Transgender Child. And we're learning a lot. We're learning so far that at the end of the day, it's about the child and that person, no matter what age that they're presenting and that they're sharing, that we have an open heart and open ears, that the child or that individual is guiding the parents, the doctors, and then our role is supportive because they are going to go through varying stages as they evolve, as their understanding, right, evolves, as their own self-acceptance evolves, and as we as a community evolve. So the conversations are ongoing, but the support is constant. Did I get that right, ladies?
Yes,
Sounds good to
absolutely.
me. That's great.
Yes.
Well, where do we go from here, Doc?
So then the next topic is around sort of gender identity versus society. And, you know, sexuality is so fluid. You know, I have college friends that were completely heterosexual, married with kids, now out lesbian. You know, and vice versa. I had a girl that was into girls in college, and now she's married with kids. So, you know, it's a continuum.
Yes.
It's a continuum. And so help us navigate the understanding of sexual identity, your own sexual identity, versus like how society may view you, because you mentioned quite a few terms, pan and, you know, cis-trans. There's a lot. And so there is a flow. And so how do we help people express what they're feeling in a way that society kind of gets off their back, I would say, to put it in layman terms, you know, because it's a lot, and there's a lot of stigma attached and sometimes danger.
Yes.
So how do you navigate that process of your own self-identity versus what society expects of you?
So one of the books I'm reading now, and I'm one of those people that read multiple books at the same time. One of the books I'm reading now is the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And let me tell you, I just say let them. I know how that sounds, but just let people be who they are. If you really dig into the textbooks, sexuality begins at 6 months of age when a child notices and smiles at their mother or their father. But the actual like romantic one that we know and understand is about 9 to 11, pre-adolescence, okay? Mm-hmm. So if we can just remember how confusing it was for us when we were like that, then maybe it will be easier for us to remember that our kids, no child is going to say, let me see, let me have a serving of bisexual with a side of fries. No one chooses that. It's just no one does. Why do I say that? One of my friends her name is Tamara Rivera. She actually probably met her at the last event that we had. She's 63 now, came out as trans at 59.
Wow.
But
that's a whole lifetime.
Yes, she had always known when she was 4 or 5. She was sexually assaulted. She has all the things. And still she said, this is who I am.
Wow.
If it was a choice thing, if it was an easy thing, she would say, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be part of this. I want us to remember that no one chooses their sexuality. If hanging out with sexually diverse people will make you a lesbian, then that means hanging out with straight people should make me straight. I mean, it's like, it doesn't. It just doesn't
quite
do
work that way,
right?
does
It just doesn't. So let's begin with that understanding and then go to the fact that it, just like Dr. Sandy said, it is truly a process. It's all becoming. I was 55 when I realized that I am actually pansexual because there's a term for it. A pansexual person is someone who is attracted to people. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, okay, because it's a girl, I'm attracted to them, because it's a boy. And this happened to me twice, first in San Francisco and then in Atlanta. Yes. This girl that I met, I was like, oh my God, she's so cool. She's beautiful. She's everything.
But what did you want from her?
No, I'm just attracted to her. That's
Okay.
it's just an attraction.
And this is my question going back to gender roles. For me, when I see someone, I can admire their beauty. I don't have much of an interest beyond that in terms of wanting them to be a partner in any way beyond, a friendship or whatever.
Well, I did. I wanted. He was like, I wanted.
So it was a sexual.
Yeah, it was an attraction. It was a true
You
attraction.
were drawn to
yes, like anybody else would be attracted to anybody else. I was truly like, oh my God, is she single? Where does she live? I mean, how can I get her number? And then when I finally started talking to her, she was like, oh yeah, I started transitioning. I'm like, transitioning? Mm-hmm. Then I found out that she was trans.
But
so
let me
I was
ask
like,
you
oh,
this.
wow.
If, for example, I don't mind changing a tire, okay, I feel that too. I'm feeling all kinds of things is my point. When I am feeling masculine or my masculine senses are activated because I want to play flag football, I'm tackling,
But is that really a masculine sense?
that's where I'm going.
That's the gender role part.
Right.
That's the
you
gender
might just be
role
ethnically-
aspect
yes,
of it,
should be,
right.
Right.
So gender
boy who likes to
roles
cook.
and
Yes,
societal
some of the
roles,
best chefs are men.
Yeah.
right, don't define how I self-identify. They are very different. That's the point that I want to drive home. In other words, if I want to ride a motorcycle and, be a part of a sweatshop, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking about things that are typically masculine, right? But I'm a foofy girl.
I think the question is who assigned it, who made it masculine. I want to go
Right.
back to being an African woman.
Yes.
In the African home, my brother, my immediate younger brother, was not, he cannot, he's, 54 now. He can't even boil water because he was not allowed to be in the kitchen.
As a
It
societal
was like,
role.
get out of the kitchen. That's for women. That's for girls. But that's assigned.
Yeah.
And then the question is by who? In Scotland, men wear, they call it kilts, but it's a skirt. In Texas, men wear boots, but that's a high heel. So, I mean, whose idea was it really to say this is what women wear? In the old days, men wore wigs.
Yes.
The color pink was traditionally, quote unquote, masculine colors. Heels, high heels in the aristocratic era was initially worn by men. So this is a societal thing.
These are societal
Purely
things that are
society.
defined by our society.
Jesus wore a robe, a gown.
But they may not necessarily map 100% to how you self-identify. I just don't want people to confuse when I feel if I'm a female, but I want to do things that are typically done by males, that doesn't make me pansexual.
Well, that doesn't make you pansexual because, first of all, sexuality is different.
Let's
But I
speak
want
to that.
I want to hold space for you and say that everybody has masculine and feminine. Yes, we all do.
Yes.
We
Talk
all
about
do.
that
Yeah.
for us,
Yeah,
please.
and that's about all I know, actually. But I do know that we all have masculine and feminine. That's all I know as far as that goes. And so when someone wants to express a more masculine thing, society clips that. Says, no, don't do that. You're a girl. Or when a man wants to say, oh, no, don't do that. You're a boy. There's a trans woman. She's an actress. I forget her name. The black, beautiful trans woman who's an actress. She's really popular. I never remember her name. She was in Orange is the New Black. She said something really profound. She said, when I was a boy.
Oh, I know who you're talking
Yeah.
about.
She said, when I
see
was
your
a
face.
boy, everybody told me to stop acting like a girl.
Cox.
Yes,
Cox, yeah.
Laverne Cox,
Laverne
thank you.
Cox, yeah.
And then I transitioned into a woman and everybody's calling me a man. I just wanted
Wow.
to just hear that. She said, when I was a boy, everybody was like, oh my God, you're so girly, you're so girly, you're so girly. And then she transitioned and then everyone's like, oh, well, you're a man. So society has to learn to leave people alone. And just that's, to me,
Please.
that's where I'm coming from.
Right.
And
That
then
goes back to
all
just doing what works for you.
I was just going to say, all backwards, just you do you. Exactly. You
Right.
do what you know that affirms you. And don't listen to society because
Yes,
that's
they
the
don't.
key.
They've never been right anyway. I mean, look at what's happening to education. I keep going back there now to education in today's world. They're burning books. This book will probably make the list.
let's hope so.
Let's hope not.
Because
want
I
it to
want
burn.
people to read it.
Yeah, because if it makes the list, then it will be become.
Well, yeah, we don't want it to make the burn list.
The burn
though.
list,
we want
though.
it
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
the
Bad
bestseller list.
The bestseller list.
The bestseller list. And I think when I read this book, and I haven't it's so much in it. It's like an encyclopedia, to be honest with you.
It's a primer.
It's got some of everything in it, all the way down to questions that a parent can ask themselves and conversation starters for families to have. So I love it for if you are someone, for example, who, you know, you kind of suspect, right, that your child identifies differently from their birth.
I love the word differently.
Assignment.
Yeah.
Assignment,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This book will help you not just understand them, but to have conversations, to open up the conversations so that you can then be able to figure out your way forward.
Yeah, the key is creating a safe space.
That safe space, right. Let's talk about safe space for a moment.
Let's talk about it.
Because I think you said in your book 25%, 4 in 10 African-American children will self-identify as not with their assigned.
So the thing about the number, okay, so let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
First of all, about safe spaces. We've gone from psychological safety is the key.
Yes.
And let me say, 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk at one of the big financial companies here in Atlanta, Georgia, about the intersectionality. We talked about identities that we leave at the door. Okay. And you would not believe when I asked them anonymously in a word cloud. People left Christian at the door. People left mom at the door. People left queerness at the door. People left disabled parents at the door. What are those? How is your workplace if somebody's going to leave the fact that they have a disabled parent at home at the door before coming to work? We need to create safe enough spaces that people become brave. So it's not just safe, it's also brave. In other words, I'm going to share this and I'm not going to feel I'm not going to get punished for saying that I'm LGBT. I'm not going to get punished for saying I'm a liberal. People
y'all
were talking
asking
about
a lot,
religion. They leave
you
Christianity
asking
at the door. I'm like,
lot.
so you leave a Muslim at the door. You leave all these things at the door. So then who are you bringing to work? It's a shell
You
of
bringing
who you
work
are.
to work now. You done messed up now because I'm one of
Leave all
them.
your drama at the house. Are you one of those?
Right. I'm one of
It's a
them when you
challenge,
come
but
to
you
work.
can't.
I
You
know.
can't. A lot of you carry all that with you.
You carry it with you, but
yeah.
oh God,
that's the part
it
about the
makes
safety.
and I respect that. I love the concept, but what we are asking people to do, I ain't gonna lie, it's super hard. And
Well,
let me
how do
tell you
know
why.
that
Let me tell you
somebody in the room said, "I leave my blackness at home."
I did too.
But these are the things. So who
have to.
am I at work? I don't know that we have to.
At work, I am who they paying me to be. That's who I am. But it is hard. And you're right, though. It is a complex discussion, which is why we're talking about it. So let's talk more. Let's talk more. In a room of 10 people, 10 different individuals, and we are, let's say, I used to be a project manager before I retired. 10 people in a room, I got 10 different personalities, and I got one task. I got one task, and I got 10 people. And all of those personalities, it's my job to align them towards the task, right, at hand. And the key is, in order to create that safe space, I, as the leader or the manager or whoever, I have to be the one who acknowledges all those differences.
Exactly. That's
right?
what I was waiting for you to say that. You have to be okay with, because I allow.
And once I do it,
yes,
everybody else is going to do
because
it. I have to
allowed
set that as the
exam. Yeah. Once I allowed Dr. Sandy to come to work as all of herself, I'm also allowing myself to come. And that's why that poem by Marianne Williamson is so powerful. She says, "Who are you not to be all these things? When you allow yourself to shine, you allow other people subconsciously to also shine. So you can't dim your light so that other people feel comfortable.
Right.
You have to be okay with shining. And you know what? Every place might not be the best place for you to work. You might have to find a different place to work. But if Sandy only comes, if Sandy doesn't come as a mom, she only comes as a doctor to work, when we're talking about parenting, Sandy's going to be quiet because maybe her child is, quote unquote, I don't know, I'm just going to say.
Oh, no, that's true. I mean, I was a single mom.
Yeah.
So I didn't
so you
want to
need the
highlight
single
that
part
much
of
because they're like,
exactly.
oh, she's going to have to leave at 2 o'clock. Oh,
Right.
okay, you know. So you just kind of keep that on the low at first.
At first.
And then when you're like, listen, this is who
I am. Exactly.
You know, and yes, if my child calls, I will drop
I will go
everything and
because that's my.
But
Yeah.
people, you know,
Yeah.
people come to work with so much on their back, but it impacts how they do their job.
That's
so
the
you
thing.
have
The
to be aware of
productivity is
it.
affected.
So,
Yes.
But
it's
if
a
you don't
challenge,
have a
though.
manager
Right, who's
Who is
that's about back,
who
we're back
is
to
affirming,
compassion.
right?
Yes.
And providing that safe space, maybe you need to find a safe space.
Yes.
Right, is what you're saying.
And that's why
because
people
you
quit.
need to be yourself.
People say that
and
they
be
quit
able to
their
be
jobs.
yourself.
They quit their jobs,
quit their
but they actually
bosses.
they quit the manager.
bosses.
Yes, and then they go to some other place and then do the same work. So they didn't quit their job. They quit you.
They
and
quit
your
their
toxic
manager. So I'm
environment.
going to
Yeah.
speak to leaders out there, and I am going to say these people are people, whether they are identifying as something that you comfortable with or not. They are people, and they are probably still high performers. Their resume still works. Their skills are still there. So I think it's up to us to be a little bit more affirming, accepting, providing those safe spaces as leaders. And as we do that, the rest of the room,
Yeah, you set the culture.
we
So-
set the culture.
Workplace culture. Yeah.
Lead.
Yeah.
Very
Love
good.
It, love it. Love
So
it.
so let's go back to this. Who do you leave at the door?
Mm.
Because one of the big things, certainly, we're here in the South now, is religion.
Oh God.
And the South is, you know, religion is everything, and you know, for everybody, and you know, that's how every decision is done. I prayed on it. You know, positive and negative. And so, you know, I think about. You said you were what is it, runaway Catholic. Which
Catholic
I
on the
love
run.
that. But you know, we talk about this a lot in jest about
Yeah.
how Christians are not so Christian. You know, and sometimes some of the most unkind people you ever want to see or identify as Christian. We look at. I won't even get into politics.
I was
currently
just going to say
on.
the Republic.
But this is a thing, you know, and so, you know, what do you do for the believer who's trying to understand what you're going through? How do you help them to reconcile their beliefs in God and their fear of going to hell? And help them being an ally to support you. How does that, you know, have you figured that out? Because that's a big challenge. You know, have you navigated that? Because, you know, in the South, that can, you know, people will condemn you before they even understand anything about what happened. I mean, you know, I can't even get into reproductive rights, but there's just a lot of ways that people condemn folks using religion as the weapon.
Yes.
So how do you navigate that?
I like the second question when you said, "Oh, have you even figured it out?" And I haven't. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have. That said, I do know that there are 8 billion people on this earth, and not everyone is ever going to come around to doing that. So it's all ultimately going to come down to, will the child be able to stay and just hang in there until they're independent? Because my own kid first blocked me on Twitter.
Why?
When I found out that I had been blocked on Twitter, I used the siblings' account and I saw that they had changed their pronouns.
Aha.
So
Okay.
and so that's because my kid was like, I don't know how my mom is going to react to this they them pronoun thing. So they blocked me, and which is their prerogative. I raised the child to do that, right? So, but I want to see that. I want the parents to know that at the end of the day, there might be a rift between you and your child. And so when you are affirming your child, most people are thinking that, you know, I don't want to lose my child, but actually by affirming your child, you're keeping your child. And also
That's
to
a
talk
great
to
point.
to speak to the rest of the world, the family members, extended family members. I was attacked. People said, "Are you going to let your child?
Yes.
Are you going to allow your child?" As if it's up to me. As if it's up to me. Today, my father is 92 years old and he uses the correct name and the correct pronouns. My dad is 92.
That's evolution.
That's
right
growth.
There. Love
That's
it.
huge.
That's awesome.
How did I get
and
my
how,
dad to
how
do
wonderful
it?
that is for your child.
Yes, but how did I get my dad to do it? I told my dad, I said, "Daddy, let's go back to Igbo language. Do you realize that in Igbo language, we do not have binary pronouns? We only have they, them. In my language, you are they, them. You are they, them. Everybody's they, them. And so I asked my dad to say, explain that. Explain the fact that Igbo women in the past took wives. This is gender roles. This is just something that society
has defined.
Yes. And so if there's no he, him, and no she, her, explain that. And he couldn't. I said, well, there you go. So it's okay for me to call this book she, to call this water she, but when you tell me you're she, then I have a problem with that? I should not have a problem with that. I should let people be who they are.
Yes.
And so slowly but surely, I sent him every single video, every single podcast. I'll send him this one. So my dad has been listening. So now he's like, oh. So he sees I am unshakable in this thing. Like, I'm really, like, serious about it. And I said, you can have your grandchild or you cannot have your grandchild.
That's the bottom line. And how progressive of him at that age to be flexible enough to be willing to hear you and learn something.
That's why I said it's not everybody that wants to hear, but some do. And so for those who do not want to hear, honestly, save your energy for those who will. It's not everyone. I'm not here to convert every parent. Somebody already gave me 1 star on Amazon for the book. I don't know who the person is, but I know the person probably didn't even read the book. Just said, I'm just going to give 1 star. And
for the topic.
Yeah, for the topic.
For the topic.
And
well, I will tell you, I profess to be a Christian. Okay. I also am not thrilled with those who are also, who, profess Christianity and, they ain't quite following what Jesus said. We're going to leave it at that. In other words, we talk about what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? But I don't think he doing some of these things.
I promise you.
I don't think, I could be wrong, So I say that to say, in our faith, I'm not convinced that we are perfect people, upholding every aspect of our faith.
I will also say we are not perfect interpreters of the Bible.
That part. Yeah, that part.
Because there's a lot of things that are in the Bible that people have used to justify some really egregious behavior.
Some really egregious behavior.
So,
yeah.
And the way that I reconcile my acknowledgement of people, of anyone, is that the Bible taught me, and my dad really taught us this, there is no greater service but to love.
Bottom line.
The whole point
of being a Christian.
Right? The whole point of it.
Of all of this, actually.
All of it.
Period.
Is to serve God and to serve those that he created.
And you serve God by loving.
And we serve God by loving, and we serve others by loving. So I take offense. I'm just going to put it out there. I take offense to people who identify. We're talking about self-identifying.
With the stickers.
Who self-identify as Christian. They're going to wear the cross.
Sticker on the car.
All that. But you can love, right, people who you don't understand. That's the challenge. Yeah. You don't have to understand to serve. You don't have to, when we go out to feed the homeless and do, all of these various volunteer acts, I don't even know these people, no less understand them, but I am there to serve. And my point in saying is, as a Christian, if you go and put that Christian hat on, I do not expect you to also be judgmental. I expect you to be one who serves and loves. Full stop.
And is compassionate and accepting.
That kind of goes with it. And if you can't do that, stop calling yourself Christian, messing it up for everybody else.
That part right there.
Now I said it.
And I seconded it. So.
Okay. Dr. Sandy, I noticed you wrote in your little cheat sheet here, reverse intersectionality. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
So that's a term that I came up with. And I want to give, obviously, the flowers.
Well, say it again. Reverse intersectionality.
I made that up.
Okay, explain that to us.
ChatGPT. It's a term that I came up with when I was thinking about these identities that I left at the door, actually. I was thinking about how the original definition of intersectionality is how minority or how marginalized community identities compound to kind of accentuate negativity, all the marginalization and racism and all that. And I said to myself, I said, but what if my minority status can also help do good? So I started asking myself, I said, what if we reversed it and I use my minority identity still to do good? And so I give the example of in a room filled with engineers.
Okay.
If I'm in the room and they need a doctor, I'm a Black female doctor. So that's 3 minority identities, and they're all white male engineers, but they need a doctor.
Starts becoming less
Right there,
important.
yes, right there, my identity. So I want us to, those of us who find ourselves at the margins or in that space or that bracket of marginalized identities, I want you to see that you can still use identity to do good. The example I am giving all the time is that the owner of this big company, who is a straight white man, who said he lives his age at the door because he's like in his 70s. And then he said, but I know my privilege. I'm a white man. And I said, yeah, but what about when you go to visit in downtown Atlanta? Where is your privilege? And he said, oh, I'll go with George. George is this big Black guy. So I wanted George to
take advantage of George's privilege.
But I also wanted George to see that sometimes being a big Black guy is also an advantage. And I just wanted to, obviously it's a term that I made up. It's not a thing. I just made it up. Like it's like shiznit or whatever words that I made up. But I believe that I want us to not say, well, I give up. I have no privileges. No, you do. You just have to find it. And there's this thing called confirmation bias. When you start looking for something, you will find it.
Find it every
You'll
time.
find it. So start looking for places where your privilege can be good, can be used for good. Start saying, I listened to Griot Connect and I heard this talk about this, and it may not be so bad. I didn't do anything. I didn't make my child gay. I didn't make my child trans. But maybe let me seek to understand what it is. What does it mean to my child to be trans? What will my child need? What are the ways I can help them? My sister's child is trans. I know everyone is talking about my sister. Let me go be that person for my sister, to hold space for her, support her. So it's all about this. I want us to leave here, if nothing else, just realizing the power that you have, especially as a parent, or even a parent adjacent, an aunt, a neighbor, a teacher, as you mentioned, a physician, knowing that you still have a lot more power. Physicians, especially, we took an oath to first do no harm. And if you think about your oath and then just add one extra word there, first do no further harm.
I was going to say first you do more harm. Yeah.
Yes, and then you see that, the patient coming in, the patient sitting in front of you, just see the person in front of you. My kid came back from Planned Parenthood and I said, Mom, I'm done. I said, done with what? She said, I'm done being the one teaching my doctors about me. Every time I go in, they want me to teach them. And when I go in for a headache, they're focused on my genitalia. When I go for my tooth, they want to know about my genitalia. So she was like, she's done. And that's just one person. Imagine what other trans people are going through when you now add Black, immigrant, Muslim.
I see
to
your
it.
point.
Yes, so
Right.
It's a heavy load.
it is.
It is a heavy load, but I will say that you have really helped us with this book. This book gives us a way to understand the life and the importance and the value of the people who are living the life, right? These individuals who have selected or, they have said to themselves, I'm going to do something bold. And I'm one of those people. I admire courage wherever it's coming from. So I am going to say to you, please keep doing what you're doing.
Yes. Very proud of you.
Very proud of you. We will support you more. We promise, right? We haven't measured up, community, but we are going to learn. And we are going to evolve, and we are going to show compassion. We're going to show empathy. We are going to be more flexible. And even our Christian partners,
Especially our
Christian partners are going to demonstrate the love and the commitment to
that God
love
told
and
us to
service that God told us
Only
to
two
do.
commandments, only two.
That part.
Just two.
Right? So you've written this incredible book. I want to wrap up and ask you, I know you do a lot of reading. You probably know tons of great authors.
I do.
Do you? Who are you reading these days? What have you got on your
I
nightstand?
told you, Mel Robbins. My Robbins let them, but also I was in San Francisco, and I was the moderator of a panel at the National Transgender Health Summit. I was moderating a panel with trans youth.
How
And one of the people,
that.
one of the people in the audience heard me say, I'm Nigerian, da 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 da. And she made a beeline for me after I was there. She said, I have a book for you. I said, which book? She said, this book. And she gave me her own book. She said, it's a Nigerian author. I want you to read it. It's a really good novel. I haven't said it. It's called Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread.
Why don't you show it to the camera so they can see that?
Great title.
Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread. And the author is?
And the author is Francesca Ekwuyasi. So basically, he's a Nigerian is an author. I don't even know anything about the book, but it got great reviews, and she just could not wait to share her book with me. Yeah, so I can't wait to finish the one that I'm reading
It
now.
looks
So
like
I can.
it's gotten some awards as
Yes,
well.
yes, she was very proud to share with me. She's like, oh my God, you have to have it. I said, okay, thank you. So she gave it to me. So it's called Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread. I cannot wait to read it. But if you want me to mention a Nigerian author, which most people probably know, Chimamanda Adichie. Do you know Chimamanda?
Of course we
I actually
do.
got to meet her. I got to speak after her on stage in 2019.
Wow.
And that was like the day of, like, I was like, okay, I've arrived, So, but she's definitely an awesome author.
I bet.
Nigeria, yeah.
Well, you're an awesome author.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, this was
is
a
a
great
great
discussion. I'm so proud of the work that you do in your travels, in your talks, in the workshops, and all of the things, as they say. And Dr. Sandy, you, of course, always bring such a great perspective and great questions to the conversation. But this has been a good one, and I was really thrilled that we were able to do it. I hope people are able to grab your book. Where can they find your book?
In my house. Just kidding. On Amazon. It's available on Amazon, in Barnes and Nobles, anywhere great books are sold.
There you go.
There we go.
But
Where
if you
great
want
books are
an
sold.
autographed copy, please send an email to my beautiful hostesses here, and they will get to me, and I'll send you an autographed copy. But
I
otherwise,
Love
absolutely
it.
would do
That,
that.
we don't get that offer too often.
I absolutely will do that. Thank you so much for coming. Thank
Yes,
you for
thank
the
you
great
very
work
much.
that you do. And for those who have listened in, I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. It was an amazing conversation. And I know you're going to run out and grab the book. Share it with someone. Be sure to underline all of these different terms so you can learn them and be better. We just have to do better. I'm
Great way to
committed.
start a dialogue.
Right. Great way to start a dialogue. And I think we got some work to do.
A lot of
But
work
we're up to the challenge. We can do this, right?
we can do hard things.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
can do hard things. Thanks for joining Griot Connects podcast, and we hope to see you soon. Bye now.